So this evening we informed pregnancy, birth and beyond have come together to talk about labouring and birthing at home. So who's got a great top tip for managing labour at home?
I really highly recommend just utilising the bathroom. The toilet is dilation station. You hear that, don't you, that phrase? But yeah, just the fact that when you sit on the loo, your pelvic floor kind of goes, you know. So just either sitting on the loo the right way round or sitting on the loo the wrong way round, you know, and using the cistern, you know, with some pillows or something like this. Or just whilst you're in the bathroom using the water, so either having a bath or having a shower. And if you can do that in the dark or with some candles or, you know, battery power candle or whatever, I just think all the better. I think the bathroom is just you know, an underutilized resource in hospitals and at home. But yeah, I think the bathroom is brilliant.
Yeah, I thought I'd just talk about oxytocin. We talk about oxytocin loads when we talk about birth, don't we? But certainly with my home birth, it was a longer home birth, so probably nearer 18 hours from the very start to the end. But knowing that, like, labour can stop-start sometimes, it doesn't necessarily start and then just do that linear increase until you have your baby. And I'd woken up probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, isn't it, on-off contractions. And with the first sign had been that my waters went. So I kind of felt a bit like that might happen the second time round, and my waters haven't gone, so is it, isn't it? But they started to pick up gradually, so I thought, yeah, this is it. And my parents were having my son, so they came and took him away, and we potted around, went for a walk around into town, and things really slowed down. And I thought, oh, maybe this isn't it, maybe it's just kind of false starts, and maybe it's not today. And so I sent my husband to go and pick my son up, because I thought, well, he can come home again. If it's not happening today, it's not going to happen. And within half an hour of him being home, things started again, and quite intensely. And I really do believe that either there was a psychological barrier there that was preventing the contractions coming, that just something in my subconscious maybe was worrying about him, which is what slowed things down and then stopped things. And so when he came back, I had that reassurance that, yeah, he was fine and that was okay. So that helped, that psychological barrier broke down. But also just sitting with him on the floor and playing and having cuddles, he was 2.5, just that oxytocin boost suddenly got things going again. And knowing that oxytocin plays we know that it plays a really big role in labour and birth. And we know that actually when you're at home and relaxed, then that oxytocin is far more likely to flow. Even if you're going into hospital later, initially being able to be in your own environment and feel relaxed is really going to support that oxytocin production. But knowing the things that can help with oxytocin boosting can be really helpful as well. So if you have got older children, having those cuddles with them, having cuddles with your birth partner, if you've got a romantic partner there who can give you lots of cuddles and kisses. Some people don't want lots of intimate touching at that point, and that's fine. But even just positive words, we know that laughter can help produce oxytocin. So it might not be that you want to do the smoochy, cuddly thing, but it might be that you can sit and watch a film together and have a really good laugh at something, or a comedian. And once you're relaxed and that oxytocin starts flowing again, that can really help. So knowing that even if things do start to stall or they feel like they're kind of slowing down again, there are lots of ways that you can get things going and get that oxytocin flowing again. So yeah, just reading lots about oxytocin before you go into labour, just so you've got those tools ready. So if you need them, you can give yourself a really good boost. That can be really helpful.
I definitely agree with the laughter one. That was something that my partner was able to do for me. There were elements of, you know, hugging and massage and touch and things like that. But for us, just him, clowning around and being himself and making me laugh, just, you know, it puts you at ease, helps you relax, helps distract you from the surges and what's going on inside your body, so that you can, you know, let what needs to happen, and hopefully not feel overwhelmed by it and help the process move along?
I would say for me it was distraction. So just have like your list of things that you want to sort of do, whether it be, you know, making the cake or doing some playing with older ones or going for a walk. I think that's that luxury of ideally knowing that you're going to be at home, so you haven't got to wait for that point of, well, when do I get in the car to go to hospital? And then, yeah, kind of not fixating on what's happening and when it's happening and how quickly it's happening. And yeah.
Ignore it. I think that can be quite good. Just ignore, just be in complete denial can work for a lot of people. Yeah, ignore it. Just get on with your day or go back to sleep for as long as you possibly can, because it's not going to let you at some point. You're not going to miss labour. You're not going to it's very unlikely that you're going to wake up with baby in your bed.
Much as our friend Elizabeth used to dream about waking up with the baby and finding the baby in the bed, it's not very likely to happen. Walk with a friend, that could be a good one. Again, it's part distraction, isn't it? And it's part movement, keeping busy, helping the body do what it needs to do. Sarah Lewis has got a whole cupboard full of silly walks to help labour progress. Up and down the stairs sideways is quite a popular one. I've had several clients who've tried that method. So don't wear yourself out. Don't exhaust yourself, with trying to do things and to make things happen. It'll happen when it's ready to happen. And sometimes it is more distraction, trying to keep your mind, yourself busy whilst waiting for things to ramp up and happen.
Going and getting monitored and then leaving, that takes so much antenatal preparation, and it's just wonderful. And everybody should know that they can do that they can go in, they can rock up, they can say, I'm really worried about this and this, but I still want my home birth, all right? And they will be respected and not coerced into staying. And that takes a lot of education. It takes a lot of resilience against a system that is not necessarily geared up to do that always. So I think that's a brilliant nugget of information that will keep your labour going once you're in it as well. Because if you know that you're supported and you can pick and choose how you have that support yourself, then you're so empowered at that point. I think it's fantastic. Love to hear that.
Talk to me about what your partners and husbands did to prepare. And I know that, Lucy, that Dave came along to some meetings as well, didn't he? And listened in and paid attention. So tell me about what your birth partners did to help themselves prepare.
For me, I mean, my husband is the husband of a woman who talks about birth like 90% of the time. So I feel like he didn't specifically do any reading, because that isn't him, like, so lots of guys or lots of people like statistics or kind of absorbing information in that way. And my husband just really doesn't. I never thought in a million years he would read a book or, on about, prep or anything like that. But I think for us, it was just knowing that he was fully supportive of the plan. But yeah, I just felt like that in terms of preparation, just knowing that he was truly up for the home birth as well, and not secretly thinking, but wouldn't it just be better to just go in, because I think perhaps if the pregnant person is the one we're kind of almost getting carried away with the dream of, wouldn't that home birth be just so amazing? Probably my advice is just definitely take your partner along on that ride as well, and get them as excited and get them to read the positive birth stories. And like you just said, Sally, just like come along to groups like this and come on the calls and things, because, if they're talking excitedly about the prospect of a home birth, just like you are, then it means that if you know, things do, the unexpected happens, or you have got to make decisions about the way to manage your care, that yeah, you definitely feel like you're on the same page and you haven't got one party just secretly hoping that actually it would be in a different location. So that's probably how we handle it.
For me, it was my husband knowing what I was going to be doing to keep myself calm during my labour. We'd done hypnobirthing together, so he'd come to the classes, he'd learned the techniques, and I'm forever saying this to people, it's all very well you learning breathing techniques, but actually on the day you need somebody to support you. And I know, I can remember that I got to that transitional point and that I can't do it anymore, kneeling on the floor, and him kneeling on the floor with me and saying, you can do this, and talking me through the techniques we'd used in our hypnobirthing classes and guiding me with my breathing. And that was really powerful. If he'd just sat there and said, well, do the breathing that you've done, do your breathing, do your hypnobirthing breathing, I'd have probably slapped him. But because he was able to do it and I was able to mirror it, that made the world of difference. So even if you don't do classes together, teach your birth partner the techniques you're going to use or you're hoping to use during your labour. Because if you've got somebody with you, particularly in those early stages at home, to help you with your breathing and everything else, then that is so, so powerful.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Sarah. And I know I had a client recently say exactly the same thing. You know, she said, as much preparation as she had done, and she felt empowered and loved her birth experience, but in the moment it was easy to get kind of swept away with things. But when her husband knelt down at the edge of the pool, looked into her eyes and just started doing the breathing that they had learnt together, she started to mirror him, and that helped her to regain a little bit of control and to get back in the zone, so to speak. You know, there's a big difference between somebody instructing you to do something, or just, you know, saying, do the breathing exercises, do the technique that we learnt, and someone actually sitting down and just starting to do the thing so that you can copy the thing, because that's a much easier process to go through when you've got all that other stuff going on and what have you, than to have to do the brain work yourself, to just be able to mirror that technique or whatever it is really, really helpful. So Dave, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, my lovely. Would you like to tell us from your point of view anything about your birthing experience? So how did you find it? What did you learn? Do you feel like you did any specific preparation? Are there any little gems?
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. It's nice to see you all. I hope everybody's doing okay. In terms of the things that I learned from our experience was that we had, this is the birth of our second child. We were planning for home birth for both, and I was much better prepared the second time round. And I think if we're giving some advice, is to perhaps like not underestimate the amount of preparation that's needed. So you need to be organized. I had some like lists, wrote down what like a list of things like in order to do. Well, I also as well like to manage our expectations. We made some like little diagrams about like, you know, when you call the midwives, then this is what you do next, and then if it goes this way or that way, then this is what you do next. So we had like a little flow chart of what to do and when to do it. I think, you know, part of it actually as well is just listening as well, and be involved in the process, like in the planning of it, and be interested in it. Sometimes it's hard because as a chap, you haven't got the same sort of you haven't had a fetus gestating inside you for 9 months, so you're probably not connected to the birth necessarily in the same way, but it's important to you listen to the person that is, and that you're quite understanding of their needs, and just sort of be on standby to do the things that they need you to do. You know, a penny in planning is a pound in you know, delivery, or whatever they say, and I think that would be my advice for what it's worth, anyway.
And doing the test run, I think, for those that are doing if they're planning home birth.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. So if you're going to use a pool, test it, like practice filling it up
and time it.
Yeah, and see how long it takes. You know, and
the cleanup.
I was just say, if you're going to be involved in the cleanup, practice that as well. because actually the thing you don't want to do, I know we're deviating from birth actually, and this is sort of quite a you know, a mundane thing, but you don't want to be spending time cleaning up. You want to be spending time with mum and baby, and you know, so make the cleanup as easy as possible. If you can get someone else to do it for you, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So would you recommend home birth to other parents, expectant parents?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. If it's safe to do it, then do it. The amount of people I've spoken to when I've said, "Oh, I've done a home birth," and they've gone, "Oh my God, I'd never do that. It's so scary," and this, that, and the other. But that's about preparation as well. Like if you know, from doing some of the courses we've done, like if it's right for you, then home birth obviously is right for you. And for some people, they'll never be comfortable with it, and that's okay. But actually, the more you look at the evidence, you know, people gave birth before hospitals and they gave birth in the home. And actually, anyone you speak to, or certainly, well, I say anyway, all the people that I have spoken to who have been involved in a home birth have all said it's brilliant and it's amazing, and that it's really sort of not been what they expected. You know, whenever you see this sort of conversation makes the rounds, but you know, there's a very medicalized view of birth, you know, how we see it on the TV, you know, with the kind of hospital dramas and things like that. And actually, your birth doesn't have to be anything like that. It can be a really nice experience. And actually, the other thing was seeing how a home birth made Lucy, like how it made her really calm and gave her the birth that she wanted. And when Ted was born, like when he came out in the water, he was so chilled. He was so utterly relaxed, and it was nothing like what perhaps some people expect, and that was really, really good. So I was, you know, I would, sorry, I'm waffling a little bit, but I would recommend home birth to anybody.
So you could say you would do it again.
Yeah,
I thought I was gonna have had that on record.
Definitely recommend it to anyone. Yeah, as long as, but actually, I guess one of the main messages that we get from like the birth experience and planning and preparing for a birth is that mum needs to feel most happy and most comfortable where she is. And if that's at home, then it's at home, isn't it? If that's in a birth centre, then it's in a birth centre, you know, and also managing that expectation about, because that when our first was born, we wanted a home birth and we had to go to hospital. But we sort of took that in our stride and, well, it's okay. You know, it's not the end of the world. You know, we just sort of, you know, we just sort of tried to do as little as possible to cause any distress to mum or baby, be that at home, in the hospital, or wherever it is.
Sally, I'm just wondering if we can ask Philippa and Claire for their top tips for birth before arrival, because it happens quite a lot. Whether you're planning a home birth or not, sometimes people don't plan a home birth and babies arrive. So yeah, top tips for what happens if the midwife isn't there yet.
I think the key for me was to remember I could do it. It's not my first, you know, it's people have been doing this for ages, and there are midwives on the end of the phone, and if baby's really willing to come that quickly, then chances are it's all going to go according to plan. But not to panic, I think, is a really, and it's how hard is it not to panic when you're told not to panic? But that's, I had a moment of like, and then I remember I could do this. I've got this, totally got this, and it's totally fine. And that's the place I would probably go. So if it's birth before, I would just try not to panic.
Yeah, I'd definitely, yeah, that's what really good advice. I also would say I had watched a lot of birth videos, so it doesn't qualify me at all. But yeah, just to, in my mind, that actually I sort of could play that out, that it, you know, that helped for me. And also I've sort of subsequently thought, and I say this to my clients as well, that if you're in a situation where you call 999 and ask for paramedics, and obviously perhaps if a midwife is not coming or is going to be delayed for whatever reason, for your birth partner to be your bouncer on the front doorstep, because it might be that actually you don't want, it's great to have the paramedics on out in your driveway or in the road or wherever, if you know something were to change. But actually, if your baby's born and you've just had a baby, and then actually your baby looks great and it's making some lovely noises, then you don't need the paramedics trampling over your birth space, you know, because I think, especially if that's maybe you're just about to have a baby or you've just had a baby, that could be a bit of a mood kill, I would imagine. So yeah, I would just say, you know, like by all means, you know, get paramedics on standby outside if that's what you want to do. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily give them an invite right indoors, you know. So I think that, coupled with just not panicking and just trusting yourself, just trusting the process, I think is the big one.
It's, you know, it's, if baby's coming in that much of a hurry, then usually everything's fine. It's not, you know, it would be highly unusual for a baby to be in that much of a hurry if there was an issue. And once baby has arrived, you know, the key points really are to just keep mum and baby skin to skin. You know, you don't need to worry about touching that cord. Baby's absolutely fine, you know, with the cord still attached. So just leave that well alone. There's been a lot of stories in the press and the media about paramedics and people on the end of 999 calls telling people to tie off cords with all sorts of things. You know, no, just no, it doesn't need to be touched, just leave it. Your mum suddenly begins to feel unwell, or there's more blood than you might expect there to be, then you absolutely need to be making that call and getting help to you, you know, ASAP, as soon as you possibly can. But 9 times out of 10 with these fast births, it's, you know, everything's fine. Baby's just decided that they're ready to come and they're coming. So catch me if you can.
Just on that topic, I think anyone who's done a first aid course has probably, you know, probably never covered birth, and I think it's ridiculous. So there are a number of courses out there that you can do. Some of them are only about 20 quid, and I think really that every family should do them, because you could be in a situation where you are giving birth without a doctor and without a midwife. And maybe you want to be doing that, but the more you know, the more prepared you are, the less stressed you are, the more you know that you have got it and you can handle it. And I think for partners, it's sometimes like they can be really, really stressed out by the unknown, and just a really short basic course on different aspects, like, well, what would you do if you thought bleeding was too much, or what would you do if baby came out without, you know, breathing straight away, what would you do? I think it's brilliant information that all families should be aware of if they're concerned about it. So yeah, and I do think that it should become a bit more of an aspect of first aid.
I want to go back to something that Claire said, and when you were asking the ladies about, you know, how they felt about the midwives not arriving as before baby was born. And because in our society, most people prior to doing any research on birth will have only seen media style, movie style, give me all the pain relief you've got quotes from a movie. And seeing because we have access to YouTube and such things now, there's so many different videos and varied and so much information out there about how calm and beautiful, and calm being the operative word, how calm and speedily, that ejection reflex of baby being born. And some babies are born really fast. I think lots of people don't understand that physicality. Sometimes babies shoot into the water or shoot out. But knowing, like, I think if you watch 25 of those videos and you see that, and that's in your mind, versus other unhelpful, not, less favorable videos. Like, if you have those and you see those, this becomes your normal. This becomes what I want. I was doing some CBT research recently, and there's some really simple there's a simple video out there, actually. It's still up there. I could probably paste it in, about how if you don't want to think one way, if I say to you, don't think of pink elephant, all you can think of a pink elephant. So it's about, what is it you do want? What is it you would imagine for your home birth? And really, like, brainwashing your brain into positivity, as it were. If it goes that way, great. If it doesn't, say la vie, but the chances of it being really calm and positive are highly, highly tuned in your favor. So I really echo what Claire's saying, like, just, yeah, watch those videos for sure.
Absolutely. Videos, affirmations, little mantras, all of those things can be really so helpful and so powerful. And for as much as Lucy abandoned her beautiful fairy lit birthing space for the utility room, if you've got creating that space is part of the process, isn't it? It's going to help you. It's all part of that positive mindset, like Sinead was describing. It's about stacking the odds in your favor, doing all those things, the preparation, the techniques, all the various different bits and pieces that you're working out, that you're planning for, that you're preparing for, that are going to move you towards that end goal of your home birth, of having a happy and enjoyable home birth. And I think
that in terms of planning for a home birth, that actually you can decide to have a home birth at any point during your pregnancy. You might start your pregnancy even before you get pregnant. You might be trying to get pregnant and already have in your mind that you want to have a home birth. Equally, you might not decide that you want to have a home birth until the moment your waters go. And that's all right. You don't have to have given anybody forewarning that you're having a home birth. You could get those contractions and then think, actually, I'm quite happy at home. I'm going to stay here. And you just phone and you tell people. Equally, you could be planning a home birth, and you could have been planning a home birth all the way through, and it may get partway through your home birth where you think, this isn't where I want to be. And for whatever reason, it might be your instincts are telling you you need to be in hospital, or you just want a bit more pain relief, or whatever it is. And that's okay as well. There's choosing to go to hospital. There's no shame in that at all, because as we've said before, being where you feel comfortable is the best place for you. So knowing that those extremes are absolutely fine when it comes to having a baby.
Chilled Mama Kathy says, all birth starts off as home birth. Some just have planned transfers to hospital.
It's nice. I think it's nice when people are home, they have access to all their favorite things. And we talked about lots of stuff we talk about can also be transferred to hospital, like your positive videos and your calm stance, but also you have all like your favorite pillows and cushions and throws and smells if you want them. And they can actually bring them with you if you do transfer as well. But have access to your own kitchen, or somebody else has access to help you out, and that's often you have all your favorite things there. That's just really basic helpful stuff.
Yeah. And going back to talking about bathrooms again, we all feel most comfortable in our own bathroom, don't we? Although if you do end up going to hospital, I would recommend using the bathroom.
Knowing that your children can be at your birth if you birth at home. if you want them to be. We know that we have got team members who have had home births where their children have been present. Quite often you hear people do all the planning and actually birth happens in the middle of the night when children are asleep. So actually our bodies are very clever sometimes at picking the right moment for birth to happen, when it's kind of more convenient, if you like. But if you want children, your children there, they can be there. And maybe just having somebody on hand, be it a family member or a friend that you know your children are comfortable with, so that if it does get to the point where either they're not happy being there anymore, or you're feeling distracted and you'd rather they weren't there, you've got somebody to either occupy them in a different part of the house or take them to the park or something like that if it's during the day and it's feasible. But some people worry about having a home birth because they have older children, and knowing that that isn't an issue at all. Like Philip said, it might be that they're there and then they just go to school and tell everybody that they've had a baby, and it's all very exciting.
And actually, you know, the flip side of that is if you're concerned about having to leave your first baby at home, possibly for the first time, that was my personal situation. You know, my eldest was 19 months when my second one came along. And when I went into hospital to give birth, that was the very first time I'd ever left her. And it you know, it can be a really big deal. So again, if that's something that is playing on your mind, is a worry to you, then knowing that you can choose to stay at home and that your whole family can be around you in your own home, you can have whoever you want at your birth. You know, you're not restricted by hospital restrictions as to how many birth partners you can have. It's your home, you decide who comes over the threshold. So again, if it gives you that extra sense of empowerment, then maybe that's the right decision for you.